Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. This book came into the universe just in time to become the shelter of all living beings when Krishna disappeared. The first part of the Bhagavatam, it kind of starts off where the Mahabharata leaves off. Krishna leaves, and then it's arranged that Shukadev speaks the Bhagavatam, and then it becomes the shelter, and it describes that in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. So how fortunate we are to be here today and every day, to be hearing the Bhagavatam, verse after verse, all the way through. I don't think you can calculate the good fortune. Okay, Sanatana Goswami tried to explain it by explaining the glories of the Bhagavatam. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram. So here we go. It goes like this. Sarva Shastra Dipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshak Sharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsingin Madguru Mad Mahadana Mad Nistadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Saduta Dayin Atini Chutatakara Anamunchagadachin Mam Premna Ritkandayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So without further ado, we will continue reading from the 31st chapter of the 4th canto, and we'll hear further the teachings of Narada Muni to the Pracetas. Maybe after that, already we finished with that. Yes, it is Narada Muni. My dear kings, starting with text 17. My dear kings, sometimes in the sky there are clouds, sometimes there is darkness, and sometimes there is illumination. Am I in the right verse?
Yes.
Okay. My dear kings, sometimes in the sky there are clouds, sometimes there is darkness, and sometimes there is illumination. The appearance of all these takes place consecutively. Similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, the modes of passion, darkness, and goodness appear as consecutive energies. Sometimes they appear, and sometimes they disappear. Purport. Darkness, illumination, and clouds sometimes appear and sometimes disappear. But even when they have disappeared, the potency is still there, always existing. In the sky, sometimes we see clouds, sometimes rainfall, and sometimes snow. Sometimes we see night, sometimes day, sometimes illumination, and sometimes darkness. All these exist due to the sun, but the sun is unaffected by all these changes. Similarly, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of the total cosmic manifestation, He is unaffected by the material existence. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhire vacha ahankara iti yame bina prakritir ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Although the material or physical elements are the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are separate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore not affected by material conditions. The Vedanta Sutra confirms Janmad Yasya Yataha. The creation, maintenance, and dissolution of this cosmic manifestation are due to the existence of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, the Lord is unaffected by all these changes in the material elements. This is indicated by the word pravaha, emanation. The sun always shines brilliantly and is not affected by clouds or darkness. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always present in His spiritual energy and is not affected by the material emanations. Brahma Samhita 5.1 confirms that Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and He is the prime cause of all causes. Although He is the supreme cause, the cause of all causes, He is still Parama, transcendental, and His form is Satchidananda, eternal, spiritual bliss. Krishna is the shelter of everything, and this is the verdict of all scripture. Krishna is the remote cause, and material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that understanding Prakriti, or nature, to be the cause of everything is like understanding the nipples on the neck of a goat to be the cause of milk. Material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation, but the original cause is Narayana, Krishna. Sometimes people think that the cause of an earthen pot is the earth. We see on a potter's wheel a sufficient amount of earth to prepare many pots. And although unintelligent men will say that the earth on the wheel is the cause of the pot, those who are actually advanced will find that the original cause is the potter, who supplies the earth and moves the wheel. Material nature may be a helping factor in the creation of this cosmic manifestation, but it is not the ultimate cause. In Bhagavad Gita 9.10, the Lord therefore says, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Hare Krishna Shobha. Haribo. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and producing all moving and non-moving beings. The Supreme Lord casts His glance over the material energy, and His glance agitates the 3 modes of material nature. Creation then takes place. The conclusion is that nature is not the cause of the material manifestation. The Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. Text 18. Because the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes, He is the supersoul of all individual living entities, and He exists as both the remote and immediate cause. Since He is aloof from the material emanations, He is free from their interactions and is Lord of material nature. You should therefore engage in His devotional service, thinking yourself qualitatively one with Him. Purport. According to Vedic calculations, there are three causes of creation: time, the ingredient, and the creator. Combined, these are called Tritayatmaka, the three causes. Everything in this material world is created by these three causes: time, the ingredient, and the creator. All of these causes are found in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam. Narada Muni therefore advises the Pracetas to worship the direct cause, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated before, when the root of a tree is watered, all the parts are energized. According to the advice of Narada Muni, one should directly engage in devotional service. This will include all pious activity. Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. When one worships the Supreme Lord Krishna in devotional service, one automatically performs all the other pious activity. In this verse, the words Tvachejasa, Dvashta Guna Pravaham are very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never affected by the material qualities, although they all emanate from His spiritual energy. Those who are really conversant with this knowledge can utilize everything for the service of the Lord, because nothing in this material world is unconnected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 19. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. Purport. These are some of the ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. The first item mentioned is Dayaya Sarvabhuteshu. Dayaya Sarvabhuteshu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. The best way to show mercy is to spread Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. People should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everyone should directly engage in his devotional service. Those who are actually learned, advanced in spiritual understanding, should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world, so that people may take to it and make their lives successful. The word Sarvabhuteshu is significant because it applies not only to human beings, but to all the living entities appearing in the 8,400,000 species of life. The devotee can do good not only to humanity, but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by chanting the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, and insects benefit. Thus, when one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all living entities. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world, the devotee should be satisfied in all conditions. Narayana parak sarve na kutas chana bibhiti. Swarga Pavarga Narakesh Apitul Yarta Darshinaha. Bhagavatam 6:17-28. It does not matter if one, to the pure devotee, if he has to go to hell or Indiana to preach. The Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hog. Although the Lord is in Vaikuntha, even while preaching in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To attain this state, one has to control his senses. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. Text 20. Being completely cleansed of all material desires, the devotees are freed from all mental contamination. Thus they can always think of the Lord constantly and address Him very feelingly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing Himself to be controlled by His devotees, does not leave them for a second. Just as the sky overhead never becomes invisible. Purport. It is clear from the previous verse that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, is very quickly satisfied by the activities of his devotees. The pure devotee is always absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated, Srinbatam Swakata Krishna. By always thinking of Krishna, the pure devotee's heart is freed from all kinds of desires. In the material world, the heart of the living entity is filled with material desires. When the living entity is cleansed, he does not think of anything material. As the mind is completely cleansed, one attains the perfectional stage of mystic yoga. For then the yogi always sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. Dhyana vasti tad gatina manasa pashanti yam yoginaha. As soon as the Lord is seated within the heart of the devotee cannot be contaminated by the material modes of nature. As long as one is under the control of material modes, he desires so many things and makes so many plans for material sense enjoyment. But as soon as the Lord is perceived in the heart, all material desires vanish. When the mind is completely free from material desire, the devotee can think of the Lord constantly. In this way, he becomes completely dependent upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddhao kripaya davapada pankaja stita duli sadrisham pachintaya. My dear Lord, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of this material world. Kindly pick me up and fix me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. Similarly, Srila Narottam Das Thakur prays, Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta, Vishabhanu Sutta Juta, Karuna Karaha E Bara, Narottama Dasa Koi, Na Tehila Ranga Bhaya, Toma Vini, Kyache Amara. My dear Lord, you are now present with the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, Srimati Radharani. Now both of you please, be merciful upon me. Don't kick me away, because I have no shelter other than you. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes dependent on his devotee. The Lord is invincible, yet he is conquered by his pure devotee. He enjoys being dependent on his devotee, just as Krishna enjoyed being dependent on the mercy of Mother Yashoda. Thinking himself dependent on the devotee gives the Supreme Lord great enjoyment. Sometimes a king may engage a joker, and in the process of joking, the king is sometimes insulted. The king, however, enjoys these activities. Prabhupada tells the story of Gopal Bhatt, the court jester of, I think it was King Akbar or somebody. He was always joking. So one time, Gopal Bhatt came into the room and the king said, Gopal, what is the difference between you and an ass? he just stepped 1, 2, 3, 4 between him and the thing, and he said, "It's about 6 feet, sir." Sometimes a king may engage a joker, and in the process of joking, the king is sometimes insulted. The king, however, always enjoys these activities. Everyone worships the Supreme Lord. Another time, I'm sorry, I got to tell this group. Another time, Gopal Bhatt did something that was really, like, according to the law, he should have been killed. So then the king said, "All right, Gopal, now you have to die. You're going to be executed. So but because you're my close associate, I'm going to give you the opportunity to choose the method." Gopal thought for a second. He says, "Old age." Everyone worships the Supreme Lord with great reverence. Therefore, the king sometimes wants to enjoy the chastisement of his devotees. In this way, the relationship eternally existing between the Lord and his devotee is fixed, just like the sky overhead. Text 21. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions, but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. Those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruitive activity are very proud of possessing material things, and they often deride the devotees. Wow. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is dependent on his pure devotees. He does not accept even the offerings of those who are not devotees. A pure devotee is one who feels he does not possess anything material. A devotee is always happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Devotees may sometimes appear materially poor, but because they are spiritually advanced and enriched, they are most dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such devotees are free from attachment to family, society, friendship, children, and so on. They abandon affection for all these material possessions and are always happy in possessing the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead understands the position of his devotee. If a person derides a pure devotee, he is never recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the Supreme Lord never excuses one who offends a pure devotee. There are many examples of this in history. A great mystic yogi, Durvasa Muni, offended the great devotee, Ambarish Maharaj. The great sage Durvasa was to be chastised by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord, even though the great mystic directly approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was never excused. Those on the path of liberation should be very careful not to offend a pure devotee. Text 22. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient, he becomes dependent on his devotees. He does not care for the goddess of fortune, nor for the kings and demigods who are after the favors of the goddess of fortune. Where is that person who is actually grateful and will not worship the personality of Godhead? Purport. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is worshipped by all materialistic men, including big kings and demigods in heaven. Lakshmi, however, is always after the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he does not require her service. Brahma Samhita says that the Lord is worshipped by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, but the Supreme Lord does not require service from any of them, because if he so desires, he can produce millions of goddesses of fortune through his spiritual energy, the pleasure potency. This very personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, becomes dependent on the devotees. How fortunate then is a devotee who is thus favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What ungrateful devotee will not worship the Lord and enter into his devotional service? Actually, a devotee cannot forget his obligation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead even for a single moment. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that both the Supreme Lord and his devotee are rasagya, full of transcendental humor. The mutual attachment between the Supreme Lord and his devotee is never to be considered material. It always exists as a transcendental fact. There are 8 types of transcendental ecstasy, known as bhava, anubhava, sthaya bhava, and so on. And these are discussed in the Nectar of Devotion. Those who are unaware of the position of the living entity and the Supreme Person, Krishna, think that the mutual attachment between the Lord and his devotees is a creation of the material energy. Factually, such attachment is natural both for the Supreme Lord and for the devotee, and it cannot be accepted as material. Text 23. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear King Vidura, Sri Narada Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, thus described all these relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Pracetas. Afterward, he returned to Brahmaloka. Purport. One has to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a pure devotee. The Pracetas got this opportunity from the great sage Narada, who told them of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. 24. Hearing from Narada's mouth the glories of the Lord, which vanquish all the ill fortune of the world, the Pracetas also became attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meditating on his lotus feet, they advanced to the ultimate destination. Purport. Here it is seen that by hearing the glories of the Lord from a realized devotee, the Pracetas easily attained strong attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, at the end of their lives, they advanced to the ultimate goal, Vishnu Loka. It is sure and certain that anyone who always hears the glories of the Lord and thinks of his lotus feet will reach that supreme destination. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 1865, Manmana bhavamad bhakto majjaji mam namaskuru mami vaishasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. Text 25. My dear Vidura, I have told you everything you wanted to know about the conversation between Narada and the Pracetas, the conversation describing the glories of the Lord. I have related this as far as possible. Purport. Srimad-Bhagavatam describes the glories of the Lord and his devotees. Because the whole subject matter is the glorification of the Lord, naturally, the glorification of his devotees automatically follows. Text 26. Shukadeva Goswami continued, O best of kings, King Parikshit, I have now finished telling about the descendants of the second son of Swayambhuva Manu, Uttanapad. I shall now try to relate the activities of the descendants of Priyavrata, the first son of Swayambhuva Manu. Please hear them attentively. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj was the son of King Uttanapad. And as far as the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj or King Uttanapad are concerned, their activities have now been described up to the point of the Pracetas. Now Sri Shukadeva Goswami desires to describe the descendants of Maharaj Priyavrata, the first son of Swayambhuva Manu. Text 27. Although Maharaj Priyavrata received instructions from the great sage Narada, he still engaged in ruling the earth. After fully enjoying material possessions, he divided his property among his sons. He then attained a position by which he could return home, back to Godhead. Text 28. My dear King, in this way, after hearing the transcendental messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees from the great sage Maitreya, Vidura was overwhelmed with ecstasy. With tears in his eyes, he immediately fell down at the lotus feet of his Guru, his spiritual master. He then fixed the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart. Purport. This is a sign of associating with great devotees. A devotee takes instructions from a liberated soul and is thus overwhelmed by ecstasy from transcendental pleasure. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Naisham matis tavat urukramang krim sprishat janarto pagamo yadartaha mahiyasham pararajo vishekam nishkinchananam nanivritti yavat. Bhagavatam 7.5.32. One cannot become a perfect devotee of the Lord without having touched the lotus feet of a great devotee. One who has nothing to do with this material world is called niskinchana. The process of self-realization and the path home back to Godhead means surrendering to the bona fide spiritual master and taking the dust of the lotus feet on one's head. Thus one advances on the path of transcendental realization. Vidura had this relationship with Maitreya, and he attained the results. Sri Vidura said, O great mystic, O greatest of all devotees, by your causeless mercy, I have been shown the path of liberation from this world of darkness. By following this path, a person liberated from the material world can return home, back to Godhead. Purport. This material world is called tamaha, dark, and the spiritual world is called light. The Vedas enjoin that everyone should try to get out of the darkness and go to the kingdom of light. Information of that kingdom of light can be attained through the mercy of a self-realized soul. One also has to get rid of all material desires. As soon as one frees himself from material desires and associates with a liberated person, the path back home, back to Godhead is clear. Text 30. Shukadeva Goswami continued, Vidura thus offered obeisances under the great sage Maitreya, and taking his permission, started for the city of Hastinapur to see his own kinsman, although he had no material desires. Purport. When a saintly person wants to see his kinsman, he has no material desire to see them. He simply wants to give them some instruction so that they can benefit. Vidura belonged to the royal family of the Kauravas. And although he knew that all the family members were destroyed at the Battle of Kurukshetra, he nonetheless wanted to see his elder brother, Dhritarashtra, to see if he could deliver Dhritarashtra from the clutches of Maya. When a great saintly person like Vidura sees his relatives, he desires only to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. Don't imitate. Vidura thus had offered his respectful obeisances to his spiritual master and departed for the city of Hastinapur, the kingdom of the Kauravas. O king, those who hear these topics about kings who are completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead obtain without difficulty a long life, wealth, good reputation, good fortune, and ultimately the opportunity to return home, back to Godhead. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 31st chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Narada Instructs the Pracetas, end of the 4th canto. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Somebody want to give me a summary of the whole 4th canto? What? I had this realization while I was editing the Srimad-Bhagavatam with Gopi Puranadhara Prabhu and Jayadvaita Maharaj. And I realized during that time that actually I was a fallen soul and that I couldn't actually remember the things I read for long periods of time. Whereas, some of my godbrothers are very advanced and they can remember for a long time different things. I know because I worked with them. But I remembered, because I was their editor, I realized that while I was hearing, it's actually the same as meditating on it after having heard it for a long time. So that's why I made my vow to do this every day. Because if you do this every day, while you're doing it, it's the same as samadhi. Just to inspire you to do this more. I know you guys are the cream of the crop. You're doing it every day here, sharing this nectar. The nectar that comes when you hear about Krishna every day. Especially like did an intimate scene with the same persons every day. It's something else. It's really something else. Hare Krishna. Okay, shall we embark? We just got off the gangplank and now we're back on the boat. We're going to embark on the 5th canto. Does anybody have the 5th canto with them? Whoa. Okay. Uncle John, I thought, who brought all these books and put them around? Was that Uncle John that did that? Different devotees. All right. You going? Anyway, we'll miss you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. 5th canto, the creative impetus. Dun, da, da, da. Exciting. Huh? Chapter 1, the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. This chapter describes how King Priyavrata... Oh, this is interesting. Srila Prabhupada never made summaries of the chapters. Have you noticed? So far, this is the 1st canto where he decided to paraphrase, I think it's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's or Bhaktivinoda Thakur's summary of the chapter.
You started with the 5th canto.
Yep.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. He did the Chaitanya Charitamrita also. He started, but he started, let me see, this, interesting, because he stopped here, and he stopped the 5th canto to do the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Which is quite a dramatic change.
Yeah, to have the summaries, you mean? Oh, you mean from the 5th canto to the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Well, it also shows how important to him the Chaitanya Charitamrita was. I was in Govardhan, when was this? 2-3 years ago, and there were some devotees from Hong Kong who came. Jai Shri and a couple of others. Hopefully she'll come here this summer again. And there were 3 younger devotees there. I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita because that's where I was in my daily readings. And afterwards I said, so any questions or comments? And one of them raised her hand. She says, I was told I'm not supposed to read this book. I said, who told you that? He said, my authorities, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what they said. Can you imagine? When Prabhupada first came out, we were distributing these books, single volume, Chaitanya Charitamrita, to the people on the streets. And somebody told her that you can't read this book. And there was no like a condition after, no. It wasn't after you read this, after they said you can't read it. Hello? What movement did you join? Hare Krishna. Okay. But here we are. 5th canto, Srimad-Bhagavatam. This chapter describes how King Priyavrata enjoyed royal opulence and majesty and then returned to full knowledge. King Priyavrata was detached from worldly opulence, and then he became attached to his kingdom. But finally, he again became detached from material enjoyment, and thus achieved liberation. When King Parikshit heard about this, he was struck with wonder. But he was somewhat bewildered as to how a devotee with no attachment for material enjoyment could later become attached to it. Thus, in astonishment, he questioned Shukadeva Goswami about this. In response to the king's inquiries, Shukadeva Goswami said that devotional service, being transcendental, cannot be deviated by any material influences. Anybody breathing a sigh of relief? Priyavrata had received transcendental knowledge from the instructions of Narada, and therefore he did not want to enter a materialistic life of enjoyment in the kingdom. He accepted the kingdom, however, at the request of such superior demigods as Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, the King of Heaven. Everything is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, and everyone must work accordingly. Just as a bull is controlled by a rope tied to its nose, so all conditioned souls are forced to work under the spells of the modes of nature. A civilized man, therefore, works according to the institution of Varna and Ashrama. Even in materialistic life, however, no one is free to act. Everyone is compelled to accept different type of body offered by the Supreme Lord, and thus be allotted different grades of happiness and distress. Therefore, even if one artificially leaves home and goes to the forest, he again becomes attached to materialistic life. Family life is compared to a fortress for practicing sense control. When the senses are controlled, one may live either at home or in the forest. There is no difference. When Maharaj Priyavrata, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, accepted the royal throne, his father Manu left home for the forest. Maharaj Priyavrata then married Barhishmati, the daughter of Vishwakarma. In the womb of Barhishmati, he begot 10 sons, named Agnidra, Idmamija, Idmajiva, Yagyabahu, Mahavira, Hiranyareta, Gritaprishta, Savana, Medatiti, Vitihotra, and Kavi. He also begot one daughter whose name was Urjashwati. Maharaj Priyavrata lived with his wife and family for many thousands of years. The impressions from the rims of Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot wheels created 7 oceans and 7 islands. Of the 10 sons of Priyavrata, 3 sons named Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana accepted sannyas, the 4th order of life, and the remaining 7 sons became the rulers of the 7 islands. Maharaj Priyavrata also had a second wife in whom he begot 3 sons named Uttama, Raivata, and Tamasa. All of them were elevated to the post of Manu. Shukadeva Goswami thus described how Maharaj Priyavrata achieved liberation. Pretty exalted life. The question is, I think I'll stop here. And we'll go to the 5th canto tomorrow. Okay. Open mic time. Yes, Bhaktidat, you may start the ball rolling.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I had a question about, it was described, it's described a lot about how devotees meditate upon the Lord's lotus feet and through that attain liberation and find that shelter to the troubles of the material world. And I've also heard that the 1st and 2nd cantos are described as the lotus feet of the Lord. So would that be along the same lines of if you're reading or hearing the 1st and 2nd canto, would that be the same as meditating upon the Lord's lotus feet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, the phrase meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord or serving the lotus feet of the Lord means different things to different devotees depending on the level of devotional service they've achieved. But in general, it means that we approach Krishna first to the feet. Because when you look somebody in the face, it's intimate. You look them right in the eye, that's intimate. Sometimes it's recommended, like for instance, Lakshman or Bharat. It was either Bharat or Lakshman. Never looked Sita in the eye. They always looked at her feet. Because, I mean, she was the goddess of fortune. She was the husband of their brother Ram, who they loved very, very much. And they would never transgress that etiquette. So they never saw her face. They looked at her lotus feet always. That's like the supreme respect. So if we're just beginning in devotional service, the first step towards devotional service is humility. And also, in the Gita, in the 13th chapter, Lord Krishna describes that humility or knowledge begins with humility. Humility is the first item of knowledge. And the knowledge in the 13th chapter is the actual process of getting free from the entanglement of the material nature. So that's the general principle, is we should meditate first on the lotus feet of the Lord. So therefore, in our studies, we should not jump ahead over the first 2 cantos. And sometimes Prabhupada include the 3rd canto in that. And the tendency for people who, like when you're reading a really interesting novel, it's really big and you got so many characters and what's going to happen, it's one of those things, suspense, whatever. Sometimes people kind of like cheat and they go, look at the back of the book and, okay, now I know what's going to happen. And they go, and it ruins everything in terms of what the author was trying to, the experience that the author was trying to give the reader. So that's another aspect. And Prabhupada, it says in the beginning, is the preface in the trying to remember if I think the preface is there. Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is there.
Mm-hmm.
So look in the preface. Here, I'll look. From the very beginning, Prabhupada said in the preface, Srimad-Bhagavatam begins from the definition of the ultimate source. It is a bona fide commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author, Srila Vyasadeva. And gradually it develops into 9 cantos up to the highest state of God realization. The only qualification one needs to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step cautiously and not jump forward haphazardly as with an ordinary book. It should be gone through chapter by chapter, one after another. The reading matter is so arranged with its original Sanskrit text, its English transliteration, synonyms, translation, and purports, so that one is sure to become a God-realized soul at the end of finishing the first 9 cantos. Now, another aspect of that phrase, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, is to serve the Lord. Lotus feet of the Lord means the Lord, the whole Lord. Not that we want to go and be, an intimate associate without knowing anything. You'd be really embarrassed. I mean, even in the material world, if you go to a place where it's like a big high people are hanging out together, and if you go in and you don't know what the etiquettes are, you don't know what to do, you can get embarrassed pretty easily. And very aristocratic families in India are like that, some of them. Now they're pretty all fallen, but there still are old money aristocratic families in India that you got to know what to do, But Lord Chaitanya, he's really special because he takes the position of the servant of his. So, Krishna also likes to take the position of the servant of his servant. That's true. But still, in Radha Krishna and Goloka Vrindavan, you can make offense very easily to Radha Krishna. You got to know what you're doing before you go there. But Lord Chaitanya and Panchatattva, they don't take offense. Therefore, when you chant your rounds, you should always chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra. Either before you chant, or in the beginning, in the intermediate, in the beginning of before each round, or if you start and stop, every time you stop, then you chant Panchatattva before you start again. And that's a really good thing to do, to be able to chant Mahamantra without offense. That's because Lord Chaitanya is acting as a devotee of himself. Anyway, that's something. Yeah. Something I can remember about lotus feet.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we got 10 more minutes. Sarva, look, I knew it. I just had a feeling he was going to raise his hand.
One devotee was giving Bhagavatam class, and he was reading from the Padma Purana, which has a section that glorifies the Bhagavatam. He was saying that generally when there were some rituals in some readings of the Bhagavatam, then it struck me, you said that Prabhupada was so merciful that he had the devotees distributing individual books of Bhagavatam to new people on the street.
Oh, yes.
So can you comment on Prabhupada's mercy or potency?
my understanding, because I was there during those days, when we would get a new Bhagavatam every month for a while. We were getting a new Bhagavatam every month, and then all of a sudden we got, we had already 2 volumes of Chaitanya Charita, but then all of a sudden we got 17 volumes. It was out there, I'm sorry, I'm diverting a little bit. I'll get to your point. I blackmailed Ramaswar, who was at the time the BBT, head of the BBT. And the Chaitanya Charitamritas came off the boat or ship. I don't know whether it was a ship or a plane. I think it came off a ship. Anyway, whatever it came off of, I was managing at that time under Tamal Krishna Maharaj's guidance, the Radha Damodar party. We had our headquarters in Tampa, Florida. We had a little house. We painted the whole house orange. It looked like a popsicle in the middle of it. Anyway, and so when I heard this, I decided we're going to get the first carton. We're going to get the first set off the thing, right? So then I called up Ramarsa and I said, I heard that the Chaitanya Charitamrita is coming in any day. And he said, oh yeah, he's real enthusiastic. Oh yeah, don't worry, and you should order a lot of them and da-da-da-da. I said, well, I've been thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give our remittance this month to the BBT. What? Because at that time we were given like hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. I mean, it was really big. Radha Damodar party. Yeah, you can't do that. That's blackmail. So, I don't. It's not blackmail. I just send me a box. It's no big deal. And he did, just to get his remittance. So I went to the airport. It was about 40 minutes away from the temple, the little house, our headquarters. And I went in there and I paid my obeisances in the hangar, right on the floor, and everything. The workers were all looking at me what I was doing, and we finally got it, brought it back into the van, and I started taking out, volume by volume, looking at the pictures. Tears are coming from my eyes. We had never seen it before. This is like something historic event, We got back and we, put them on our altar. We had a little altar, and then we did arti, installed them on the altar, and then I went to my desk. And because we were really busy, we had 130 brahmacharis managing. They were all over the country, and there was no, internet and cell phones, and it was like by phone booth. That was the way we would communicate with them. Anyway, and then sometimes the devotees were out in Sangha, they call up because they felt they were in anxiety or they were in Maya or whatever. And then for some time, every time they called then, I said, really, really, listen to this. And I would just read the Chaitanya Charitamrita to them straight, things they'd never heard before. And it was like magic. They just, all right. And then they'd just run out of the cell phone booth to distribute books. And then we started, it just went, it took off, the results during that time. So now back to the question.
So it was very revolutionary from our
Yes, individual books, yes. So, Prabhupada had us do the Chaitanya Charitamrita volume, or to speak of the Bhagavatam, and yes. So Srila Prabhupada explained to us that he's written these books in such a way, and this is why his purports are like they are. Sometimes you feel, we heard this just last couple of pages ago, or last page, and then we hear it again, and we hear it again. A little different, but again and again. That was one reason, was for thoroughness of all of us, so we would get fixed in the basics. But the other thing is that whoever got the book, if they read any purport, they would get something very basic, something solid. And so it was Prabhupada's purports that allowed us to distribute these verse by verse, different cantos of the Bhagavatam to the people in the public, effectively. So Prabhupada's purports are, without Prabhupada's purports, we wouldn't be here, no doubt. I mean, my humble opinion is that therefore we should continue to hear these purports for the rest of our lives. We should never stop, because time is so powerful. It can cause us to forget. Okay, I've got 6 more minutes, and then I gotta go. She never says anything, but she's got all kinds of things going on in there, you know. She's too shy. Hey, Vrindavan, something?
All right, now.
Okay, then I'll take your leave. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone out there in cyberspace, for coming to hear Srila Prabhupada's purports and the verses, of course, in Bhagavatam. But the purports are so important. And we heard a lot of nectar today about how if we just hear about Krishna, hear and chant, and perform this intimate devotional service, that Maya cannot touch us. Even though it may seem like she is sometimes, but if we keep hearing the Bhagavatam, she can't actually get a hold of us. Narada Muni ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Same time, same place, same station tomorrow. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.